It's 12 noon. I'd like to go ahead and welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us for part one of Data in Action, a Lunch and Learn series. I'm Leisha with Cajun Navy Relief, and we've partnered with the U.S. Census Bureau for this series. I'd like to hand the floor over to Christina Bowe from the Office of Strategic Alliances to introduce our speakers for today. Christina?
Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you everyone for joining us. My name is Christina Bowe with the Office of Strategic Alliances at Census. My office is really a connector and a liaison. We're really proud of the national partnership work that we do to connect organizations and ultimately people around the country to the important data and statistics that the Census Bureau has to offer. Today we have two speakers. Our first is Monica Dukes. She is a data dissemination specialist with over 20 years of experience at the Census Bureau. And then we have Adam Grundy, and he is an outreach specialist with over 16 years experience at the census. We're really excited to share these data tools with you, and we hope you find them useful in your volunteer work and anything you do with Cajun Navy Relief. Just a reminder, this is being recorded and it will be available to you. The recording will be available to you at a later date. So first, I'll kick it off to Monica to get us started.
Thank you so much, Christina. And I'll just quickly go over the outline for today's session. So I will be discussing tools that we've on the fly data tools that can be used for emergency management. And those tools include what we call quick facts that can be used to meet your data needs, and as well as narrative profiles. We'll also discuss key resources that are available. So we'll talk about some economic surveys, programs, and data tools. And then we'll actually do examples and show you how to use each of the tools that we'll discuss today. And then we'll leave a little time for questions and answers. Okay, so what you see here on the slide is what questions can census data help you answer? So the census data can help emergency management personnel answer many questions that are needed before, during, and after a disaster. The census data covers many topics and characteristics of people that live in the U.S. So as you see on the slide, there's some examples of some of the questions that may come up for individuals who are volunteering to work with individuals after a disaster. So number of people who lives here, how long have they been living here, how do they communicate, what's the best use of communication or the best ways to communicate with the population, who has insurance. It helps you know who number of houses in the area that you're researching, what type of housing are you going to encounter, what year those homes were built to kind of give you an idea of the structure of those homes, how many individuals are occupying those houses. Do individuals live alone or know others in the community? And then you can take a look at job data as well. So how many establishments or businesses are going to be impacted in a particular area? And what are those specific industries? So census data can help you learn a lot about an area that may be experiencing a disaster. Okay, so the two tools again that I will highlight are quick facts and narrative profiles. And again, we feel these tools are great for emergency management officials and volunteers or anyone looking to find data quickly without a lot of work to find it. So more about quick facts. And you can see here on the slide, we have the web address. If you would like to follow along later when I do the demonstration. So we feel this tool is great because it provides fast, high-level demographic, business, and geographic statistics for communities with populations of 5,000 or more. So that's something to keep in mind when you're using this tool. If you're looking for an area that has a population of less than 5,000, you would not be able to utilize this tool specifically. And it pulls from multiple Census Bureau censuses, surveys, and programs, which gives users a reliable snapshot of local characteristics. So this tool is pulling from various resources to provide this quick profile of an area that you're reviewing. It includes profiles for the nation, all 50 states, DC, Puerto Rico, and all counties and cities and towns, again, that are 5,000 or more in population. And then again, we feel it's ideal for users who need a quick reference or data on the fly for research planning or emergency management purposes. So more about quick facts. Again, it's best for fast, high-level demographic summaries of, again, states, counties, and cities or any population greater than 5,000. It's great because it can be used on a mobile device. It has a highly condensed interface where you can search for a location and instantly view easy to read charts on population, age, various topics, including housing and local businesses. And you can easily compare up to 6 different locations at once. The data again pulls from multiple data sources to summarize the characteristics of the geographies that you select. Now on this screen is just an example of what the main page of the Quick Fact tools looks like. And this is what we call the table view. And again, you can compare up to 6 geographies at one time. The tool is a simple intuitive interface where you can search a location and instantly see tables and charts summarizing local statistics. Again, I mentioned it's mobile friendly. It enables quick lookups on smartphones, which is perfect for field work and fast decision making. It allows for a comparison of the 6 locations and makes it easy to analyze differences across communities. So this may be something you want to take a look at before a disaster happens. And then it provides clearly displayed data on population, age, housing, and local businesses in a condensed, easy to read format. Okay, here on the next slide, this is just a view of the chart format. So if you wanted to compare a specific geography to other geographies, you can do that with this chart feature, where it allows you to rank geographies ascending or descending on various topics. And you can see on the screen where it says select a fact, any of the topics that are available via the drop down, you can compare utilizing the chart view. And you can also screenshot the page and use the More icon to download the data in a CSV file or a PDF file. And again, I'll be demonstrating how to utilize that in just a moment. So the next tool that I want to quickly talk about is what we call the narrative profiles. And the reason that we feel like this is great for emergency management use, this tool translates complex American Community Survey, which is one of our large surveys, into clear narratives that support rapid decision making. So it's in written format. It highlights key factors such as age, poverty, language, housing, and household types. It helps identify vulnerable populations and neighborhoods needing tailored support during a disaster. It supports planning for communication strategies, resource allocation, and evacuation needs. So you'll be able to see the data for specific populations within an area, geography, or community. It saves time by offering standardized, concise summaries that are easy to brief and share. So if you're writing up a report or sending information out to staff, it's already in a written format that you can easily copy and share with others. It can strengthen pre-disaster preparedness for clarifying who lives in a community and what their specific needs may be. And then also, again, it provides quick, easy to understand snapshots of community characteristics. You can also use this tool with a mobile device, which you'll see on the next slide, because it is smartphone friendly. And also, again, it provides short analytic reports that are derived from our American Community Survey 5-year estimates. And you'll see when we go to the tool, it has years of data available. So if you kind of want to take a historical look, you can do that. Each narrative profile covers 18 different topic areas, and provides text and bar charts to display highlights of selected social, economic, housing, and demographic estimates for a selected geographic area. The geographic areas that are covered in this tool include the nation, states, counties, metropolitans, micropolitan statistical areas, what we call zip code tabulation areas, which is very similar to zip codes, American Indian and Alaska Native areas, Hawaiian homelands, and neighborhood census tracts. If you're not familiar with the term census tracts, what we tend to relate that to is sort of a neighborhood. A census tract on average tends to be about 4,000 in population. So that's something if you're looking at more neighborhood view, you would be looking at a census tract. And what's great about this tool is you can also look up an address for an organization's location or a specific organization. So if there's a disaster that happened around a particular area, or you know of a address that you want to put in to find what's happening in that neighborhood area, you can do that with this tool. You can also find the census tract number. So most people don't know track what a tract number is off the top of their head for a neighborhood. This tool allows you to find that quickly. And again, the profiles allow for data analysis of geographies that are provided in a written format. So here on this slide, this is just a visual look of the tool's main page. And again, it covers many various topics. You can see there's data all the way back to the year 2015, but these are 5-year narrative profiles. So when you're looking at the data, some of it may overlap because it's aggregated over 5-year periods, but that data is available to view back to the 2015 5-year estimate. And again, you can see there that you can also use the address look and you see those various geographies that you can view to see what's going on within that particular geography setting. Okay, so now that I've covered those two tools, I actually want to do a live demonstration so that you can see how to utilize each of those tools. And if you are on a device or you have your mobile phone, feel free to follow along with me. Give me one moment while I share my screen. Now, I apologize because right now I'm not seeing the share icon. So I don't know if Adam, if you come out or I'm just not seeing the icon at the bottom to share my screen.
Yeah, I just stopped sharing a second ago, so it should be able to pop up now if you want to try again.
Okay, let me try this one more time. Okay, let me see. Here we go. Okay, so if you could just let me know if you're able to see my screen now. You should see Census, United States Census Bureau. If someone could just confirm that for me.
Yeah, I don't see it yet.
Okay, let me hit
Now
this
now
button
it just
again.
started. Now it just
Okay,
started.
great.
There, you're good now.
Okay, great. So this is the Census Bureau's main screen, and this is how you would access any of the tools that we have available. I am going to show you quickly. If you go here to Data and Maps, and once you're there at that screen and go to Data, Tools, and Apps, you can find quick facts and narrative profiles. I'm also going to show you that quick facts is highlighted on our main screen, so I'm going to start there. And if one of my colleagues doesn't mind, you can also put the link in the chat if anyone wants to follow along. So here we have right from the main screen, View Quick Facts. And once you're there again, this is that main screen that you see when you open the tool. And you start here by entering a state, county, city, town, or zip code. But remember, it has to be for a population that is 5,000 or more individuals. So we had some advance notice about some areas that may have experienced a disaster in the past. So I am going to use Caryville, Texas for my example. Once you start typing, the tool will actually begin to populate with geography areas that have that name in the title. So you can see it's already added Caryville City, Texas to my table. Now, by default, it's always going to have the United States there, and you see an X there. You can remove it if you don't want to see that at all. I'm just going to leave it there for now. But once I've added it, we now can see data for this particular area. So here we have what we call our population estimates, which is something that's updated every July 1st. And so our latest update is from July 1st, 2025, where we can see that population was 25,578 individuals. I'm going to continue to scroll down because it's going to also compare it to what the population was for 2024. And then you're also going to see our counts from our last census counts, which is 2020 and 2010. And then you'll see what those percent changes were from each of those periods. I'm going to continue to scroll down. You'll see there's headings for each of these areas of topics. So we have population. Now I'm going to move to age and sex. And now we have data for Caryville, Texas, and also the US, which is still listed there. And we have data for persons under 5 years, 65 years and older. Again, if you're working a disaster, we can see that 28% of the population in this particular city is 65 years or over. So if you're emergency management working this particular area, that number is considered to be pretty high if you're looking at it compared to the US. And so that's something you may want to consider when you're going in as volunteers. There may be people who need additional assistance because they are of a particular age. And so that's something to think about as emergency management personnel. We also can see some race and Hispanic origin data. We have some additional population characteristics, housing, family and living arrangements. And these are just topics that are already pulled in this tool, so you don't have to go find them yourself. And again, this is giving you a snapshot, a quick look of what's going on in that particular area. We have some economic data that shows up as well. Those who are living in poverty, again, for emergency management personnel, these may be a population of individuals that you need to support more than others because they may have less resources to get themselves together after a disaster. Then we have some business data, so how many businesses are in the area. Unfortunately for this city, the data is X'd out. I'm going to scroll down. You can see at the bottom there's a legend that tells why some of this data may not be shown, and here it's saying it's not applicable, probably because the stats are not stable enough for it to be reported. And then we have overall geography area. I also want to show you, I mentioned you can compare up to 6 areas. So I'm just gonna, for demonstration's sake, just type in Texas. You can add another geography if you want to compare the city to the state. And again, you can add up to 6 geographies to compare. We are currently looking at the table view. I'm going to click over here to the chart view so you can see that function as well. I'm going to highlight Kerrville City because that's what the data that I want to take a look at. By default, the tool is showing population estimates. That's the fact that was at the top of the table. And then it's comparing it to other cities in the state. And it's showing this by the highest to the lowest populations. And you can see at the top is Houston. If I continue to scroll down, it will be highlighted where Caryville City falls. And it's right here because that population is much lower than Houston. If I just wanted to see the geographies that I had selected in my table, you can see that as well here, what those populations are compared to Caryville City. If I click here for screenshot chart, it will actually allow you to download the view so that you can see it. I'm going to unclick this again so you can see that view. And then also here at the top, we have more. So if you want to download this data, print it or download it to a CSV file, you can do that as well and share this with others if you need to. Okay, so that's my quick demonstration of quick facts. I'm now going to move over to narrative profiles, which is the second tool that I wanted to demonstrate. And if someone could put that in the chat for me as well, the link to narrative profiles, so that if you want to follow along with me, you can. And this is the main page. You see here we have our years of data that we can select. I'm just going to leave it with 2024, the latest 5-year profile that's available. Again, we can look at data by these various geography types. For this example, I am going to use the county. So in order to do that, I must select the state first. So I'm going to select Texas. I already have county selected here. And then I am going to choose Kerr County so that I can see the narrative for Kerr County and what is going on with the population there. Okay, so once I've done that, we see Kerr County, Texas, where it says Get Narrative Profile. Once I do that, my written narrative profile will pop up. And then you can see all the data that may be useful for you. So things like population size, which you can use for estimating shelters that may be needed, and supplies. We can take a look at things like housing characteristics that will help predict displacement that's happening. And it's all in written format. So again, if this is something that you wanted to share with your members or volunteers, it's already here in written format. And then there's some useful charts as well. So we can see this is telling us about the households and families in the county. And then we have the percentages listed here. And you can also view this in a table format. So if I just click that there, the data's there in a table as well, which is very useful. Then we have our marital status. We have some nativity and foreign-born data. If you look here, it's saying of the population of foreign-born individuals, 50%, I'm sorry, 71.4% of those individuals were from Latin America. Again, if I scroll down, we have some language data. So we see here that in this area, 12.9% of the individuals speak Spanish. This is something that you may determine, hey, I need to make sure I have volunteers that are able to communicate with the people in this area because they speak Spanish. 12.9% of the population there speaks the language. And this is how, as emergency management personnel, you can use this data. I am just going to continue to scroll down so you can see the other topics. And also, I want to point out here, this is telling you where this information is coming from. This is a specific table coming from another tool that we have. If you click that link, it will take you into the other tool, which is in more tabular format. So there's a lot more information, but this tool is just, again, a quick snapshot. You can view it on your phone, get the information that you need for the area. Again, we have information on disability, those living with disability, again, so that you know how you may have to address this population after a disaster. Again, I'm just going to keep scrolling down just to show you those various topics. We have data on occupations, commuting, and income, median earnings, those various sources of income, whether they have some government subsidies going on there, those living in poverty. Again, these are populations you probably need to address who may need more help than others because they don't have resources for themselves. Those with health insurance, and then a breakdown of population by male versus female. We have some Hispanic origin and race data. And then a breakdown of housing inventory, again, so that you know what type of homes may be affected during a disaster. In this county, the majority of the homes are single family, but you also have apartment structures and mobile homes. And then a few boat, RV, and vans, 0.8%. House heating fuel used in the county. So occupied housing characteristics. So you get a lot of detail from this tool. Again, it makes it very simple for anyone looking for data on the fly to use. I'm going to stop there, turn it over to my colleague so that he can continue with the presentation.
Thank you, Monica. It's a lot of great information that you've shared with us today. So let me go ahead and share my slides again and my browser too. So let me start with the slides and go from the current slide. Okay. If you can just confirm somebody on the phone that you can see my slides.
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you, Christina. So I'm an outreach specialist in the economic directorate, so I'm going to talk about how you can use some of this data for your business needs or potentially use it to identify the business impact. So in the economic directorate, we're structured much like you see on the right-hand side of your screen with our economic censuses and census of governments, which are the two main censuses that take place every 5 years in the economic directorate. So years ending in the digit 2 and 7 are economic census and the census of governments. And then our annual surveys have larger sample sizes and they provide the most up-to-date trend data available. That would be things like the annual integrated economic survey, which is our newest survey in the economic directorate. And that combines 7 of our annual surveys into one big survey. And then we have monthly and quarterly small sample surveys that provide timely data. This would be like our economic indicators, like you hear about in the news, like durable goods orders from our M3 or manufacturers inventories, shipments and orders survey. And and that one takes a look at durable goods orders over time, as well as non-durables on a monthly basis. And then quarterly surveys like the quarterly services survey and quarterly workforce indicators are some of the different things you'll hear about through today as well as on Thursday. So other things you'll hear about today is high frequency data. These would be examples like our business trends and outlook survey, which gives a basic pulse of what's going on in the economy. Other key terminology that I'll be using today in my presentation is the difference between an establishment versus a company and firm. An establishment is simply just a single physical location of a business, whereas a company or firm are kind of used interchangeably in some census terms as like a main enterprise that has more than one establishment. Also, I'll talk about NAICS today, which is a North American Industry Classification System. And on the right-hand side of your screen, you can see the NAICS hierarchy. So basically, the main gist of this is as you add digits to NAICS code, as you may or may not be aware of, you get much more specific. So a subsector of a 3-digit code is getting more specific in information at broadcasting and content providers, all the way down to a 6-digit code of a U.S. industry of 516110 or radio broadcasting stations, including advertising and AM radio stations. So most of our programs in the Economic Directorate only cover employer businesses, so basically people with paid employees, but we also have non-employers, which are mostly self-employed individuals that help contribute to the gig economy. And those would be things like taxi limousine drivers, family daycares, stuff like that. We also see a lot of landscapers and also independent artists and things like that as well. And of course, U.S. Code Title 13 and 26 protects our business privacy and confidentiality, which allows businesses to feel comfortable reporting their information to the government, U.S. Census Bureau. So one of the main things I'm going to be diving into today is our census.gov/disasters page. So I'm first going to level set with a little bit of what you're going to see on the page once I go live. So first of all, this is the emergency management hub. You can get there by going to census.gov/disasters, which will bring us to our emergency preparedness page. So once you get there, you'll see a couple of different data tools. The first one on the display is My Community Explorer, which is a data tool I'm going to be demoing on Thursday. And the one I'm going to be focusing on today is on the middle of your screen called Census Business Builder. So a couple of different things you'll see when you visit the census.gov/disasters page is we have emergencies by event type. So whether if there's a disaster such as wildfires, tornadoes, air quality alerts, which we had a lot of a couple summers ago from the Canadian wildfires. We also have information about floods, which I'll be using for my case study today for Putnam County, Florida, for the recent floods that were going on there. Hurricanes, pandemics, which was obviously the COVID-19 pandemic was the main thing that we were tracking, which basically a lot of our data tools that track disasters showcase how that spread across the United States and also throughout different parts of the country. Also extreme heat. And then the other events, you see an example of the Baltimore Bridge collapse, which happened in our area in Maryland, and the impact that had on not only the population, but also the businesses and also commuting patterns and things like that you can imagine for those types of disasters. So I'll also talk about community resilience estimates, or CRE for short. And these are measures of social vulnerability. So much like the name implies, these are some of the different facets of the population that would be vulnerable to a disaster that takes place. So there are 10 main measures of social vulnerability. I'll go through a couple of them. And then on the right-hand side of your screen, you can see whether or not there are measures of social vulnerability could identify those counties as high risk, which is 3 or more of these categories out of the 10. Moderate risk, 1 to 2 out of these categories. 0 components of social vulnerability is a very low risk, which means there still could be some availability of risk depending on how many of those components they have. And then no prevalence, maybe just not enough information or data is available at that level. Okay, so we have income and poverty ratio, single or 0 caregiver household. So again, if there's not anybody available to help out somebody who are older in the household, to get somebody away from a disaster that's coming into that area, that could be a potential vulnerability. Communication barrier, like Monica talked about in her presentation, about no one in the household speaks English very well or they have a language barrier. That would be some of the different things you can do for training your volunteers or training the resources that you have to get people the information they need in the language they need in order to communicate that information. Disabilities, no health insurance, age 65 and older, which is another main category we have. No vehicle access. So again, if they have the ability to get away from a disaster, or if they're going to be potentially needing transportation, looking at the resources that are available at that county level and city level. And then households with no broadband internet access is another category we measure for social vulnerability and community resilience estimates as well. So the first one I'm going to talk about today is some like what we have for the census.gov disasters webpage is an example of like wildfires and things like that. And the railroad wildfires, like I mentioned before, for Putnam County, Florida, is our case study example for today. So once I go live to Census Business Builder, you'll see a couple different things in that display. I've put a couple different things in the categories here for total population and percent in poverty. And some of the different things you'll notice on the live demo once I go live at cbb.census.gov is you'll see a couple of different things such as individual categories such as total population, percent in poverty, and also different categories that we have over here. We'll be measuring the vulnerable population. Okay, so let me go to live now. First, let me show you a little bit about the disasters page. The way you can get there is going to census.gov/disasters. And if you could just confirm, Christina, that you can see the actual browser now.
Yes, we can see it. And I'll put the links in the chat.
Perfect. Thank you. So we have a couple of different data tools in here. Like I mentioned, My Community Explorer I'll be demoing on Thursday, but today we'll take a look at Census Business Builder. We also have a quick report lookup. So if you wanted to just go to the reports for Putnam County, Florida, you could do that by using this tool here. Community resilience estimates, which is part of the things of measuring social vulnerability, how the impact of each of these categories are. So you can see by the darker shade, the more vulnerable these particular regions are to a disaster, just at a glance. And then you can see the view emergencies by event type. That's where I got that screenshot from this exact page. We have recent events in here, such as Hurricane Erin, flash floods, Canadian wildfires, and things like that, as well as the wildfires that I'll be talking about today. And then at the bottom of our preparedness page is American Count Stories, which is our main writing series for the Census Bureau, which I contribute to in outreach, which basically takes a look at how we can tell stories with the data and how we can use these stories to get people to utilize the resources available from the Census Bureau. Okay, so once you go to Census Business Builder, you'll be able to put in a couple of different things into your search icon. So all I did here so far was put in Putnam County, Florida in my main geography location on the top left. You can see total population is the main primary variable that I have solidified for this one. Percent in poverty is my secondary variable. So basically, using the legend on the right-hand side of your screen, you can see by the darker shade of blue, the larger the population. And then Putnam County has a population of 75,164. So you can see how that compares to some of the other larger counties in Florida. So this one, it takes out of all the counties in Florida, this one ranks 40th by total population. And then the secondary variable, the larger the circle, the larger the amount that's in poverty. So of the different ones we see over here, 23.4% is a far large amount of percent in poverty for this particular county of Putnam County, Florida. So other different things you can plug in for the different stats. I already manipulated this chart to save time, but you can change your variables by clicking on the chart once and then clicking on change variable. So if you're looking for the percent of the population that was 65 and older, like we have selected here, you go down to our county level, consumer residents, demographic characteristics, and then percent 65 years and older. You can see some of the other categories in here, such as what about their race. That may or may not be important points that have been plugged into our Census Business Builder data tool. Other things in here, we have percent of with no vehicles available, unemployment rate, percent with broadband internet subscribers. Again, all those different things can be helpful for measuring just how vulnerable that population is. You can also do different things with the map configuration and reference layers. So if you want to change the reference layers, you can go to the here and click on add layers if you wanted to. You can also do different things with the base maps itself. So if it was important for you to look at the open street maps to see some of the major ways to get away from a disaster, and if I zoom into Putnam County here, you can see some of the main roads if you're familiar with that area, and some of the major highways. For if a disaster were to take place, you can see some of the different things available in here as well. So if I continue to zoom in, you can get more to that block level or census tract level, like Monica mentioned before. So you can see some of the main roads in here, like US 17, Florida 19, Florida 20, things like that. You can see in the outline for different things for understanding how people would be able to navigate away from a disaster. And then the other part of this is our example of our reports. So at the bottom left of your screen, you can see a button that says Create Report. The original purpose of a Census Business Builder was to develop these for developing your own business plan for this. But we noticed that with so many different of the variables that are available in Census Business Builder, you can use these also for emergency preparedness needs. So if you click on that Create Report button, what it's going to do is it's going to quickly populate all the different data points for that geographic location that you've done. So Putnam County, Florida is our main example that we have for today for the wildfires going on there. We also have different things in here about the top impacted sectors using data from county business patterns, which is again employer establishments, and the economic census, which also measures all the business activity going on in the United States. We also have consumer residence data in here. And if you want to change the charts on here before you actually export it or download it, all you have to do is click on one of these little chart buttons, and let's say if we want percent 65 and older, we can click once on that bar, and the bar charts repopulate over here to see how that is either growing or declining over time. Other things in here that would be important for understanding the data for the disasters are the socioeconomic characteristics as the main category here. So percent disabled, employment population ratio, percent with health coverage. So 85.9% is an example here. We saw there was a large amount of percent in poverty compared to other counties in Florida. So Putnam County, Florida, you can see compared to the rest of Florida, where the poverty rate is 12.6%, a large amount, 23.4% of the vulnerable population there. Also, people that use different modes of transportation to get to work. My colleague Arlene is going to talk a little bit about that on Thursday with her data tool on the map for emergency management. And so things like percent using public transportation to commute to work, walk to work, and other modes of transportation, with the majority of people obviously driving alone to work was 77% here. The percent with no vehicles available, again, the availability to be able to get away from a disaster is very important for us to figure out too. And then we have different housing characteristics. Again, how many houses are available would be important for emergency planners to understand. Employment characteristics may or may not be important for you, but that again measures the business impact on all different things for a disaster as it takes place. The business summary, just how big these businesses are by the employment breakouts from the County Business Patterns program. We also have business revenue, how much revenue they're bringing in, or potentially how much revenue they could be losing if that particular location was not available. Can you guys still see my screen? I got a little pop-up saying the internet connection was unstable. Can you guys still see it?
Yes, we still see it.
Okay, good. Just making sure you didn't lose me there. So we have non-employer statistics, which again is the individual businesses have no paid employees. And then the last part of this is our workforce data on a quarterly scale, quarterly business data, building permits. And then the last part I'll show you is our consumer spending data, which is pretty interesting. We purchased this from a company to help develop the tool called Esri or ESRI that you see down here. And we put that directly into the tool for free for people to figure out how much people are spending on food consumed at home, which would be important for if you're determining if whether or not it's a good place to open up a restaurant, how much people are spending on households services. So again, care for the elderly and handicapped would be an example of one of the things you want to look at. How much people are spending on water, phone services, and things like that. All this great data is available in the Census Business Builder data tool. And then consumer expenditures on gasoline and vehicle maintenance and repair. This is how much the average family spends per year on each of these different types of things. And again, this is for the data year of 2024. Okay. Job data is in there as well. And then the last part just tells you some of the different categories we have and how you can get the data that you're looking for. So with that, I know Monica and I threw a lot of information at you. So let's pause there to see what questions may have come in that we can help address. So Christina?
Feel free to unmute yourself if you have a question, or you can put it in the chat. We'll just wait a couple minutes.
Sure.
While we are waiting to see if people have questions, here is the contact information for Monica and Adam if you have a specific question related to your community or anything in particular. And I do want to put in a little plug about our next session this coming Thursday, June 4th at 12 o'clock Central Time, same time for our Lunch and Learn. Tell your colleagues about it so they can join too. We'll be doing a lot of using our interactive map-based census tools, similar to this one, but to better analyze hurricanes, floods, fires, disaster areas in real time. And we'll also learn how to assess impacts on underserved communities and map those commuting patterns like Adam was talking about during disasters.
Yep.
Again, this is being recorded, so you'll be able to share with your colleagues if you would like. We do have some questions in the chat.
Sure.
Casper asked, how many U.S. territories are covered with census data?
So the total number, Monica, do you have to have that number offhand? I know that usually we have like, I think our slides usually say an outreach about 30,000 economic places, but again, I can't remember if that's the territories as well.
I know the number off the top of my head, but if I can find it really quickly, I will post it in the chat.
All right, thank you.
And then Sharon has her hand raised if you'd like to unmute.
So I know that this is probably more ArcGIS related, but since you're pulling populations, etc., are you at any point planning to add in shelter information that comes up with the information with the fires, tornadoes, hurricanes? Do you plan to in the future do that?
Potentially with one of our data tools, My Community Explorer, we do have potential capabilities of putting in like shelter data and also uploading your own data within the data tools as well. So a Census Business Builder allows for you to upload your own data sets. Well, let's say you have a bunch of addresses that you want to plug in that you know of shelters in there. Those would populate on the shape files that you were able to submit into Census Business Builder. I have to double check about My Community Explorer, but I think that's also similar functionality on that.
Sweet, thank you.
Of course.
Anyone else wanted to see another example or a specific area since we still have a little time?
Sure. Within Census Business Builder?
Sure. I was putting it out to the audience if anyone wanted to see
Sure.
any other demonstration, if they had a suggested area they wanted to view or wanted to know if there's any other particular data that we have in the tools, they can ask that question at this time as well.
Yeah, if you want to throw out either a county, city level, I'd be happy to share that.
Okay.
Casper said, could you please highlight the data that appears with the hurricane data?
Hurricane data. Okay, so let me go back to the Emergency Management Hub. And then if we go to examples for hurricanes, you see an example here. And that will take us to some of the most recent hurricanes we had during last year's hurricane season. So if we look at an example of Hurricane Erin, which occurred on August 11th, 2025, some of the different data that you'll see in there is about the hurricane track that you can see over here on the right-hand side of your screen. We also had different things about national news, about governor declarations about those affected areas, some other relevant data tools, and then the affected hurricane paths. So, for example, if you want to look for the quick
I mean, to
report,
interrupt, but
I'm
someone is
sorry.
saying, can you share your screen? I don't know if everyone
Oh,
can see it. Is your screen being shared?
I think so. Yeah. Can you guys
Okay.
still see it? The the
Yes,
the Hurricane Aaron page?
see it.
Okay, great.
Okay,
Now
Yes,
we
cool.
can see it. Thanks.
everyone sees
Okay,
it. Yeah.
just making sure. So this one talks about, obviously the path that it took, any affected areas and things like that, and then the relevant data tools. So if you want to look for a quick little lookup, this one tells you an example from the ArcGIS platform, a quick little geographic area location lookup. So you can either use the Use My Location button, or you can use the map to click on an actual county, or by searching in the search bar over here. So again, if I was going to I'll use my example for Montgomery County, Maryland, which is where I'm from. Obviously, it's not where the hurricane track took place, but again, let's just do the closest to that. So let's go to Alabama. And this basically what you see in this census example from Montgomery County, Alabama, is allows you to quickly look at that detailed report. It shows you the map outline of the affected area, some of the different things of the percent population, percent living in poverty, 65 years and older, things like that. So you can obviously do that to use some of the data comparisons when you look at some of the different affected areas. So I think the percent in poverty was 24.6 for Putnam County, Florida. This one only has 19.9%. So still fair amount of poverty in this particular geographic location of Montgomery County, Alabama. So that's another example. Were there any other questions that came in?
Not yet.
Okay.
But if you want to put your contact info back on the screen so
Sure.
people can take it down.
Let me try to get out of this. I think I got to minimize it. There we go.
I just put a link in the chat
There we
that
go.
shows information on the various geographies that we cover. If you scroll down, you'll see the various U.S. territories that we cover. I hope that's answering your question, but you'll also see pretty much all of the geographies that we cover. It's a link to one of our tools called the Survey Explorer, which kind of gives you an idea if you look at that tool. If you're wondering what we cover, what topics, it kind of guides you through that. So hopefully that answers your question. It's helpful. If not, you can reach out to us, either one of us, to help answer that question.
Yep, absolutely.
Well, if there's no other questions, we can go ahead and close it out. And we look forward to seeing everyone on Thursday for our second session. Thank you all so much for being so engaging, asking questions. We hope that this information was helpful to you. And Leisha will send out the recording when it is available.
Thank y'all so much. I'm Soretta, by the way, well, for everyone. I'm Soretta, by the way. I'm also with the Cajun Navy, and I appreciate everyone's involvement in getting this going. I know it took us a while to get everything coordinated. I appreciate it. I appreciate everyone's attendance as well. The information has definitely been very uh, a lot, I guess, to kind of like, for us to like start digging around and playing in it and see what all how beneficial it'll be to us, especially like working remote. A lot of times we into an area that we've never been to or whatever. We try to serve the underserved areas. So this will be really, really helpful in honing in a lot of our information, I guess. So we thank y'all so much for y'all presentation as well and y'all time and all the people that participated in our chat too. Thank y'all so much.
Yeah, happy to help.
Thank y'all so
out.
much, and we'll see you on Thursday.
Thank you.